welcome to Welly's World. I'm Matt Wellman, and with me again is Mr. Gay, Billy Gay. We got cut off last time, so we're going to finish up our interview today. So we talked a lot about networking last time. We're going to talk a little bit more about that today. So you're the high school director here. Mm-hmm. You have previously owned a business.
Yes.
You have obviously played in multiple groups. How has this helped you moving, like, let's say your career has a direction? How has it helped you move forward in that direction, that you're in a positive direction?
Sure. So it's weird. I feel like everything I've done has helped me as far as being a teacher. So my business, I was a private lessons teacher. I owned a business in Modesto where I was the sole teacher, owner, operator for a year and a half, and then I had 6 months where I had a couple of teachers in with me, and then just got a little crazy. So then I was just teaching here full time after that. And then I've directed musicals, I've played for musicals, I've played in a couple of different groups as either a main musician or a sub musician. All of that stuff has helped me be a better teacher because I know real world experience. Like, this is what you're going to be expected to know, you're expected to do. These are the skills you have to succeed to be a musician. And then on the other side of it, all the networking of knowing all these people from different groups and different situations has allowed me to be a more sought after performer, a more versatile musician. So, like, they're kind of twofold. I've always thought of it as bettering me as a teacher, but it does help me being a performer as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I think all of the people I know who are really serious about performing are teaching in some capacity. Mm-hmm. They're not necessarily a school director, but they're teaching private lessons to somebody.
Although the one question I hate is, so why are you a teacher? Did you not make it as a musician?
Right.
My goal from high school was to be a music teacher and also play music. It wasn't like I'm not good enough to be on the road, mm-hmm. Or whatever.
We talked about last week that you knew you wanted a family, so you arranged your life in the way that you wanted it to be. So, so how do those connections get you? Do you feel like you're seen more? So maybe you get more gigs with the group that you're in. Maybe people know your name.
Yeah, I think. If they come and see us somewhere, or if I know them and they know we're playing, then they have friends come see us. It's word of mouth really does wonders for you. Mm-hmm. Did we talk last week about the Gallo thing? Is that coming up?
No, we haven't talked about that
yet. Okay, so like that kind of popped up because of the things we've done.
So let's talk about introduce the Gallo thing.
Okay.
Hot Club is going to be opening for Jay Leno coming up in
like a month.
It's
crazy fast.
Here at the Gallo Center. So how did you get that opportunity?
So a couple years ago, we used to play in the lobby before shows. Would be like some pre-show entertainment, and they would book us based on shows that would roughly fit with our style. It's not often that you're going to find something where gypsy jazz and the early hot swing stuff fits with, but. We have a very good ambiance to our sound. We're good for get-togethers and available for parties and bar mitzvahs. So you can just flash the phone number.
Plug.
Yeah. So they really liked us. We had a good experience with it, and a couple years later, like now, the guy that books all the shows mentioned us as an opening act. We didn't contact them. We didn't know this was happening. He came to us and said, "Look, I threw your name in the ring for this thing with Jay Leno. Are you guys interested?" If he says yes, and we said, "Of course." And they said yes. So here we are. And that was because of this free thing that we did. I mean, we got some tickets and stuff out of it, but it was not a high-paying gig. It wasn't something where we're going to make money. It was to get our name out there, to do something nice and be known for being good musicians that are reliable and dependable.
Yeah, and we talk about this all the time. You're always, when you're making decisions about what you want to do, you're making decisions that you think are going to benefit you in some way all the time. So if someone says, "Yeah, come play in the lobby of the Gallo Center," for those of you who don't know, the Gallo Center is kind of our big performing arts theater here in Modesto.
Yeah,
somewhere. We do so we can't pay you much, but maybe you can come and get your name out there, which is exactly what happened. And boom, look, you're opening for Jay Leno. That's an awesome
Pretty
gig.
awesome.
So what does it take? What does it take as far as practice hours? What does it take as far as rehearsal hours? What does it take as far as being out there, being a gumshoe, looking for those gigs? How much time are you putting into being in this group and being a performer in general?
Gotcha. So with anything, it's the startup is always, you have to front load all your time in the beginning. You've got to, if you're new to the group, or if the group is brand new, like I came into this group where they were already in existence, and so I had to learn their book and learn all the songs they do and get caught up to speed because we had gigs coming up. So in the beginning, no matter if it's a brand new or if you're plugging in for somebody that left, it's a lot of time for practice, just so you have your stuff, because you're not going to go market something that's bad or incomplete. Like one song and it's a really bad version of Smoke on the Water, nobody's going to want you. So you need a good set list, and that takes a lot of time. And then once you have that, it takes less time to maintain, but if you want to add new stuff, it does take more time. Finding the gigs, if you know what you're looking for as far as what your sound fits. So like us, we work really well in like very, not sports bar-y, but like bars that are more of a hangout spot. Or I think we would be a good fit for like a nice swanky coffee shop, local place. We're good for like nice restaurants. Also, we've done like headlining shows where we're the main band for like a jazz thing or something. So we know what our audience is, and those are the places we go to look. So I think that's, if you do the initial setup of who are we, where will we fit, then your actual going out and finding the gigs will be a little bit easier. You just have to know who it is you're supposed to talk to with these venues.
So you've got to have a great product, which even if you're in sales, you want to have it. You want to believe in your product. So if you've got a good product, let's say, I know when I've jumped into a group, I had maybe a week to jump into that, and it was a very intense week where it's just, you're cramming music, and then that first night it kind of sucks because you're trial by fire. So I remember nights where I would practice, I was like 10 hours a day on top of my private studio lessons, where I was just trying to cram this music so that I could be ready for that first performance. Does that sound like a similar experience?
Totally. Yeah. It's and that first time through is always a nightmare. Like, even if it's good, you're still nervous. You're still freaked out.
Yep.
So like I've had in the musicals I've done, and I've only been doing it a few years. It's not like I'm a seasoned veteran. But there's been two instances that have really stuck with me. The first season I did musicals, I said yes to a gig on an instrument I did not know how to play, nor did I own it.
Wow. Okay.
So I said, yes, I will gladly play banjo for you for this gig. Let me go buy one and learn it. I didn't tell them that part. I just told them I could do it. So then I had, thankfully I had like a month and a half to find a banjo, learn how to play it, and I got 2 gigs out of it. And now I'm like the banjo guy. People call me to play banjo because I can read sheet music. I'm not the best banjo player, but it fits into that, what do you need me to do? Jack of all trades, I'll do it. And the second instance was when I directed my first musical. It was South Pacific, not this last summer, but the summer before. And I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never done it before. Like, rehearsals were a wreck. I was freaking out. I didn't want to show up because I was so afraid of what was happening.
Your anxiety level was through the roof?
It was ridiculous. That was the most terrified I have been as a performer, like, ever. And having gone through that, I'm like, oh, this isn't bad.
Yeah.
I can do this. Yeah. I don't know these notes. That's okay.
I'll figure it out on the way.
I'll figure it out, yeah. The mistakes, the errors, the lack of understanding, that I think helps make you a better performer. Good shows are great, but bad shows teach you something.
Yeah.
So,
and I think one thing that we can take away from that is falling flat on your face is going to happen. It's going to happen a lot. And I know as a young performer, I always felt like I was only as good as my last show. And because of that, if I had a bad show, it was like,
Yeah.
right? I didn't even want to pick up my instrument again after that.
No.
So, but the more shows you get under, I actually hurt myself.
I was noticing that.
The more shows I got under my belt, the easier it got. And I didn't, if I missed a phrase, even I didn't feel like a bad person afterwards.
Right. Yeah, and you'll have the horror stories from your gigs make it more enjoyable. Like you can mention the time that it rained on all of your equipment at a wedding, or the guy that died in the middle of a song. So there's
Stories
always
for another time.
Yes. Part of it is the experience. Like the music, a person that doesn't play is not going to really know every note you've missed, or question your technique, or why did you use this guitar in that amp. Like they don't care. If they have a good time, they're dancing, they're singing, that's what they want. They don't expect you to play every note right. You're not Yngwie.
Yngwie Malmsteen is a famous 80s era shred guitar player, and big fan. Rising pile of hamburgers all for me. So we're talking initial investment of time, 10 hours a day for, let's say, my experience may vary, but let's say it could be anywhere from a week to a month where it's hard work and you have no one behind you pushing you to do it. You have to do all the work. And if you don't do it, you might show up to the first gig and they'll be like, you know what, guys, we're going to find someone else.
Yeah.
So if you don't do the work, all the time that you did invest is going to be for nothing. And then knowing your area, again, we're talking about being a local musician. You have to know the area that you're trying to sell yourself to. Mm-hmm. So this is where the phrase "know your audience" comes in. Even if you're trying to sell yourself as a part of a band, you have to know the type of people who are going to want to listen to you, so that you can go to them and say, "Hey, I think you'd like to listen to us."
Yeah.
Because there's no point in, say, going to a hip hop club and saying, "Hey, I play gypsy jazz." They're going to say, "What is that?"
Yeah.
And
those two words don't make sense to me.
Right. So I think your initial time investment just for the practice is huge, and then if you're new to the area, it can be just as daunting. So you got to be out on the pavement, knocking on doors, knocking on restaurants, talking to managers. It's not necessarily that you have to have an agent, right?
No, we don't. And we're still busy. We've got, we're playing this Friday. We've got like 3 gigs next month, and it's all word of mouth. It's all our own, getting out there and getting people to hear us and see us.
Yeah. So I think that's awesome. You guys, you joined. They were established a little bit.
Yeah.
They had some places probably where they had regular gigs.
Yeah, I think, I don't remember. It was a long time ago. It was seriously, I've been in the group for 6 years, 5 years, somewhere.
Wow. Yeah.
It's been a long time. I don't remember. But I know we had some things that we were doing, and so I had to come in, and it was kind of a downtime in playing for them, so I was able to come in, and we had a little bit of time to get me up to speed. But yeah, it seemed to happen pretty quick before we were playing somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was a new style for me. I'd never done it. I didn't even own the right type of guitar for it. So I was playing on borrowed equipment. Didn't have the right amp. Like all of my gear was electric guitar, and so I had nothing for acoustic gypsy jazz stuff. So, but again, it's you go and you figure it out and you do it, and you find the people that are supportive. If someone is being negative and pushing you down and saying you can't do this, find somebody else. They're not the only one. So.
Definitely, yeah. The people who always tell you that you can't do it are usually frustrated at something else that someone told them they couldn't do, or they failed themselves in something, and you're going to find those people who are always going to try and bring you down, whether it's music or something else. So, especially if you're young and you're thinking about going into performance, and you have people around you who are down on you for you don't want to be a performer. Performing sucks, and you shouldn't do that. If that's what you really want, you got to find other people who are going to be supportive, because we talk about in class a lot about your support network and how important that is.
Yeah.
It's not just the people who are going to help you find that next gig. It's about the people who are going to believe in you and your dream. So that's really important. I think
totally.
You're right. So there's no, you guys don't, do you guys have flyers that you use, like, you know, Hot Faux or Hot Club Faux Gitane?
Right now.
Are you, you know, do you guys have any kind of marketing scheme? It seems mostly like you're just word of mouth.
Yeah, I mean, we have a newsletter that we send out, and so at each gig we have our email sign-up list. We pass out business cards. When we have CDs, we sell them. We're working on our full-length studio album, our freshman debut, as they say. That should be coming soon.
Self-titled, obviously.
Possibly. So that's another thing. Trying to agree on a title for your album with a band is apparently really hard. So yeah, it's really word of mouth. It's knowing people that are looking for musicians, and going and talking to those people.
And now I've seen your website. It's linked in the description. You do have some nice photography done of the group. You've had some nice video taken. Obviously some nice recordings, and you've talked about that. But did at any point the group hire like a graphic designer for anything like that?
Well, it helps if one of your members is married to a graphic designer. So that was my task.
Yes.
And then no, my wife is a graphic designer, but I didn't marry her for the sole purpose of, I'm going to need a band someday, I better get me a graphic designer. But so we have resources within the group. Our bassoon player is our webmaster. He's also our newsletter guy. And he helps with a lot of the graphic stuff for the website and for our set lists and various other things. We have friends that are photographers. We had somebody, seriously, knowing people that come help you. Our other guitar player is kind of our sound engineer, so he sets up the recording stuff. It's all DIY, do it yourself, and that's the best way to do it.
DIY and CYA.
That's right. Which is another topic for a different story.
So let's wrap it up here. What advice would you give to someone who's really starting out? They want to be a performer. They're young, you know, maybe they're 14. How can they start now to make sure that when they enter this kind of market, they can start to see some success? They can kind of front load their effort now.
Okay. Well, I mean, the obvious thing to say is know your instrument. Learn the technique you're supposed to learn. Scales are your friend. Learn your scales. But having some sort of mentor that is in the field that you want to be in, like they play the same type of music or they're gigging. It doesn't even have to be the same type of music necessarily, but they're doing what you want to do. Talk to them. See what they're doing. Like for us, I kind of talked you guys through what I do. But that may not be the solution for you. You know, find somebody to guide you and ask questions. Do not be afraid to say, I don't know how to do this, help me. Because that's the way to learn. The internet has a bunch of good tools, but if you don't know what you're looking for, you could get the wrong tools. I mean, you could learn your sweeps all day long, but once they put a jazz chart in front of you, you're lost, you know? So acquire the skills that you need to succeed in what you want to do. Don't just start learning stuff here and there and just hoping it's right. And that's where the mentor comes in.
Yeah.